maybe about a month ago, you sent me an awesome paper and a blog article from Google.
Mm-hmm.
I will be honest, because when I saw it initially, I was like, this doesn't seem that important. It was talking about like them trying to interpret the user actions from like the mobile device, doing some screenshots and things like that. And I'm like, oh, okay, they're just trying to understand the user journey. As I read through it, I realized like it's very important. It's very, very big. I'm just curious to know just your quick opinions for what do you see in that paper, what kind of value you see in it, what's good for it for the SEO person.
Okay, first of all, let me check. The paper is AI generated content page tailored to a specific user. Basically, it is a pattern that Google is going to match the content that is going to show up based on the query that the user type in Google. And the reason is they have so much data about users, specifically with NavBoost and Google Leak. So basically, if you read the pattern, it's a predictive model. So they have all the data of the users, all the queries, all the user interaction. So they're gonna probably fine tune or create their own content to satisfy the user intent to provide and show to them exactly what they want. That's the summary, let's say.
Yeah. And I remember in, I think the blog article, which was like simpler, like the initial first variation, they're mentioning there basically just, if we see the user's screen, like here's the first screenshot, they were at the like page 1, right, or somewhere. Then they move to another page, second screenshot, and then they finally reach like a checkout or whatever. Now they have a history of these screenshots. And in order to understand what happened or what was the goal, they simply use the LLM. They just pass it over to LLM to say basically, hey, what happened here, or what did user try to do? So it's in one of the ways, it's very funny to see that the best engineers in the world are relying on LLMs to interpret this very convoluted and mixed up data. But what I thought was interesting is that as an SEO, you can start to basically create a kind of mirroring effect. Because you can look at your own, let's say, landing pages or parts of landing pages and see how LLMs would interpret that on your behalf. What do you think about this idea?
Yes, it could be an angle of attack, but in my opinion, based on what I've read and the experience I have in SEO, what I do believe that's going on is they're trying to match the queries with what the user really want. We were talking a few minutes ago about the alarm clock, and in the word alarm clock, there could be a lot of intents, but you can expand that entity alarm clock, and you can set your device. It could be your mobile phone, your laptop, an app to let's say wake you up the next day. But if we combine the main entity alarm clock, and they can predict the word after or before, and then they can show up the product or the website or the image or the service the user wants with the alarm clock, because not all the intents are going to be the same. And that's the angle, which means, in my opinion, they're going to use AI to provide probably a customized content in each case based on what the user type in Google. And they're going to launch their predictive models and then analyze the data and fine tune the model. So the serves are going to be like constant, non-stop changes on the interface. That's what I think.
How much do you think they'll go, like how deep they will go with it? Because technically, if we're looking for an alarm clock, right, we might want to see a product or an online alarm clock, or some trendy song could be happening at the time that is called alarm clock. So then, would they go like, let's say, if we're talking about the physical product of alarm clocks, maybe they can generate a custom grid with the like buy now buttons or things like that. But what if, let's say, beyond that there could be, let's say, alarm clocks that are these, you know, retro ones, like metallic ones, or the digitals, or maybe some kind of artistic ones. How far, how deep do you think they will go by creating these custom elements on the service?
Okay, let's use an example. Let's say you want to buy a physical alarm clock. One option is Google present to you a slide in the Google Shopping, and underneath that they provide a sub-menu, and they can provide an interface to download an app, so you can set the alarm clock. And underneath that they can show images from different brands of different products, and so on and so forth. So it depends on the history of your browser, all the historical data of your clicks, your searches, your location, and so on and so forth. They're gonna provide a different interface, and that's why the AI is gonna predict probably which is the best interface for you. So they're gonna customize each landing page or each interface for each user, but they're gonna do it algorithmically. So that way, the better you know the user, the potential customer, and the better you match the query with the intent of the real user, the more traffic you're gonna get, and probably the better the conversion, and the better it's gonna be for your business, basically.
Just a random quick question. What do you think if you're an e-commerce that sells alarm clocks of all types? Is it also beneficial for you to make an online alarm clock app and then also a mobile app, so you can be presenting yourself from all of these points? What do you think?
Absolutely, because the point is, you as a brand can create an app, a free app, and you're doing marketing. At the same time, you're making your brand stronger, and you're increasing your brand search demand, because you can set the alarm clock plus plan, or alarm clock download app plus brand, and you can create a new set of terms related to your brand. You increase brand search demand, you create more terms related to the brand, which means more people are aware that you exist, and on top of that they're using your product, which means the brand is is in your head. So you're doing a bit of marketing, a bit of user interaction, you're knowing much better the user, you're generating historical data for your brand and your app and your site as well, and all those signals create a snowball effect. We now know with the NAP boost that user interaction is a very powerful ranking signal. So I would definitely do this kind of initiatives.
Okay. I'm thinking back to the initial previous research paper. So just for clarity, there's basically a blog article, which is initial way of Google to communicate that they're using LLMs to interpret the user journey and really identify intent, which is used by the LLMs. Then there's a research paper that backs up this article. So these are very like tied, it's like one and one. But then there is a patent that actually talks about the generation of the results that match the intent. The intent here becomes this key element. So the interesting thing is that in order to generate intents, they're basically using visual elements. They're looking at the screenshots. They're using an LLM to look at them, but they're still looking visually. In the recent maybe 5 or 6 months, I can see Koray speaking lots about visual semantics, visual elements, specific boxes or check marks or accordions, and etc., to communicate your purpose more clearly.
Yes.
How do you see this connection between the patent and research paper to what Koray is bringing to the industry and his work that he's talking about recently?
Yeah, that's a very good point. I mean, think about when you use any interface with AI. Most of the AIs are an interface with just text, but eventually are going to provide data with images and video as well. Step by step, they're going to increase the amount of visual information. which means that visual information is going to be extracted from somewhere. And the better you organize the structure of your page with the visual information, images, video, etc., the better you're going to be, because at the end of the day, the LLMs are going to come to your site, they're going to feed all that data, and you're going to feed another, let's say, engine that is going to gather that data and to show up the results. So the more visual, the more clear it is the message both for the user and for the machines, the better. And on top of that, we as humans, when someone explains to us something which is abstract, which is not clear, and we kind of picture it in our minds, if we see a video or an image, it's way easier to understand. So I do believe that it's really important.
It's also very cool, going a bit back, but it's almost like there's a tool now, because you can just evaluate your own pages or pieces of content and see how an LLM would interpret that. Very recently there was a few cases where there is problems with traffic on the site, and then just by quickly looking at the site, it is clear that it's supposed to be a kind of action, let's say, oriented page, like it could be a service or a sign up or something like this. But the pages look like just black and white walls of text.
Yeah.
The call to action is maybe somewhere near the footer, or some kind of activity elements. They're just lost. So if we take this screenshot and ask an LLM to interpret, like, what kind of actions can you take over here? And it's like, well, there's just black and white text. There's nothing, there's no actions. So then, of course, for that kind of user intention interpretation or understanding what's the purpose of the page, what does the user try to accomplish over here, it actually shows you what's possible or what's missing, and then in your case. So it becomes a very, very, very helpful tool in that sense that you can just simply analyze your clients or even like your own sites in this way. And then the way I thought about this, well, what if more people start to use it? Right? Like right now, the standard, like we had a chat before, you mentioned that the standard SEO is basically just write an article once, then like never change it, and then just send links to it, and it will be kind of something like that, like set it and forget it. But in practice, if you tweak it, adapt it, improve it visually, actually catch more intentions behind those users that come to this article, it becomes way more, in a funny way, optimized for that target user base. But the point is, if now, let's say you rely on LLM to interpret these actions, you add more visual elements, more interactive elements, make it more engaging, make it more precisely informative for the target audience. You win, your competition loses. Over time, competition catches up. Now the whole web starts to look like there's no more black and white articles. There's very interactive forms, elements, highlights, annotations. So much stuff is happening. What do you think is going to be the next step for the competition, like beyond this point?
Well, going back to what you mentioned about black and white text, this is good to feed bots to rank in. People also add question and answers, and probably answers in AI interfaces. But you don't tick all the boxes. You're not satisfying the user. So if you add images, videos, extra information to that content, it's going to be more appealing for the user. At the same time, you're feeding more bots with the same content. So you're killing several birds with one stone. This is my proposal, which is, okay, you can create and automate a lot of sites with just black and white text, but if you put a little bit more of human effort, which is very good for your SEO overall, you're going to be better off, basically.
I love that you said the word human effort there, because I do think it has to be something like one of these moments that Googlers are actually counting as human effort. Because I was just forever thinking, like, what is that thing actually? Like, if I was trying to scrape 1,000 pages and see which one of them has human effort, you know, of course, you can add these like tables, lists, images, etc., etc. Like add a joke or add a quote for every section, but it all seems still like automatable and mechanical. I feel like the actual human effort goes into the layout and the representation of the information that you give, because that's what actually takes kind of more effort. So yeah, that definitely makes a lot of sense. I'm wondering, I mentioned this before as we had a chat. OpenAI, maybe from a year ago or a year and a half ago, in one of their like demo showcases, they were showing something like, if you go to ChatGPT and you're asking like, teach me about the like solar system, what it would do is it would generate a kind of 3D render of the planets. Then it would start to speak like, this is our solar system, this is how things work, here are the planets. And as it speaks, it actually zooms in on the planet by showing it to you like, here are the quick facts about this entity or this object, basically covering the main attributes, and then switching on to the next one, next one, next one. And if you have a follow-up like, oh, what about, let's say, this planet or that one, it basically continues to give you this ongoing presentation as it educates you. What I found fascinating about it is that, first of all, these are the best engineers on the planet that work things out in terms of how to actually serve the users. The most important part, the users of ChatGPT are the content consumers. They go to educate, to read. Technically, not that big of a difference between Google and ChatGPT if you want to be informed or learn something. It is very interesting that they were going for that model, basically connecting the visuals plus the text plus the voice all at the same time. That is like the best form of providing the content. Interestingly, we never saw that being released. It was only showcased in like one of the demos. My personal theory, I didn't fact check this, but I just think that other companies like Google probably have a patent for this kind of technologies, or maybe there were some like high compute problems or something like this. But basically that never came to life. At the same time, with the recent Gemini releases, we can see very similar, let's say, attempts or kind of imitations to move closer towards that part. Thinking from kind of different perspective that, let's say, we as, let's say, people who maintain sites or people who produce the content, we need to present it in the best way possible.
Yes.
But Google does the same thing. They need to present the content in the best way possible as well to their own users.
Yes.
The same thing happens from the OpenAI's perspective. It does seem that, let's say, going as far as possible from black and white articles makes so much sense. If you can visualize your data, visualize your answer, customize it in a way that, you know, if you are this height, then it looks like this. If you are this height, then it looks like that. If you're this height, then it's even further and further and further. Thinking just quickly in the context of a kind of, let's say, e-commerce website. There are these AI models that allow you to do a try-on, like a visual try-on. So if you want to buy a t-shirt and you can see how you would look in that t-shirt, that becomes this unique element on your own pages where it just shows you way, way, way more. And that's basically what's retaining the user, clearly showing to Google that there is some kind of value or interest here. And basically there's no written black and white text anymore. There's still some, let's say, query targeting just to show the relevance, but the main parts go a totally different way. How do you see web developing in this, with this culture? Let's say if this actually takes place in the future, 1, 2, 3, 4 years from now, becomes a trend across the globe.
I do think UX UI is going to be more important, especially now that you can use AI to code anything. Like they can generate apps in an afternoon. So the same way is going to happen with the web itself. So it's more, I do think that they have been telling us for decades, focus on the user. We thought it was a lie, but I think it's true. and the more you understand what the people want, the better. Mm-hmm. Not only in the copywriting, but also in the design and so on and so forth. Which means we as a SEO probably we have to become more like a kind of merge between product design, UX, UI, copywriters, researcher, business developer. It's like or a role. It's going to be multifaceted. We're going to know a lot of stuff from different departments and also communicate with that people and say, why don't you change this because it's going to be more appealing for the user and so on and so forth. I mean, to give you an example, it's been like 2 months trying to convince people from a project I work with to change the heading H1 on top of the image, because in the design, the first was the image and then it was the heading H1. So you have to scroll down to see the heading when it should be the other way around. But the designer say that no, the image first and then the heading H1. So these teeny tiny things, I mean, if you're talking about hundreds of pages, all of a sudden you're gonna have the key information above the fold. The user isn't gonna scroll. It's gonna be faster, cheaper, and easier to understand for about that. Hey, this is the headline of the content. At least I'm gonna parse the semantics of that heading, and I'm gonna understand pretty much what this page is about, rather than a random image, which have no relationship whatsoever with the page. So that's the overall idea concentrated there.
Yeah, and I also think about, let's say, kind of back towards human effort or scalability in a way. Let's say if I have 500 articles, now I'm gonna take on this new mindset that I want to actually customize each that granularly, that we would have custom different elements on every single page. This becomes way harder. Like, you know, if you, like with a lot of companies, it's harder to convince them to just move the H1. Imagine saying we need a custom basically layout or a design across different articles. It's like, but in a good way, this is actually the competitive edge for smaller companies or just overall companies that are moving quicker. As a quick side note, I just saw maybe in one of the like YouTube videos or somewhere that the biggest advantage now with the AI being so powerful, actually smaller teams that are able to move quicker, because the bigger corporates, they have too many people, and even though all of them have access to the same AI, there's just too many bottlenecks and everything gets stuck quickly. And it's like there's a person who makes that decision who is like the ultimate bottleneck, but now they have 3,000 problems thrown at them even quicker than before because everybody's using AI. And so doesn't matter how big the site is or the corporation or whatever, they have massive vulnerability for these things. If you can iterate and move way quicker with a narrower, smaller team, you actually have the competitive edge. It's not about how many billions of dollars you can throw into it. It's decision making and precision, both like at the same time. And the very interesting thing in all of this is, maybe for the clarity, like in a more abstract way, it's kind of more becoming like, let's say, coming back from like 4 or 5 years ago. Lots of these online programs or digital products that were being sold, they all have sales landing pages.
Yes.
Very unique, very different videos, images. Here's a bunch of social proof, bullet points 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the benefits, all of that kind of stuff. And then they A/B test them to see which one converts better, which one serves that audience in the best possible way.
Yes.
Basically, it's now applying that, but going more tech advanced and applying this across the even like generic contents basically. That's the direction that we're heading towards, right?
Yes, I mean, now with AI, they can parse hundreds of thousands of pages and figure out what the page is about, the product, the location of the product, the price, the description, everything. And then can compare and contrast that with other e-commerce or other sites in the same niche. and algorithmically say this brand should be at the top, this brand is going to be demoted because the layout is whatever. I mean, think about, for decades we have been focused on the on-page SEO ranking factors. What if your UX UI is a ranking factor? You know?
Yeah, it's a part of the site, right?
Yeah, it's part of the site. So if your site is faster, better looking than the other site, and prices are more or less the same, and your brand is slightly more popular than the other one, why you shouldn't rank higher than the other ones? I mean, I use the analogy from time to time of the football. The difference is for the football team to win or lose is teeny tiny. It's either a shot or a corner or whatever that is going to differentiate, because at the end of the day the competition is so hard that teeny tiny details from each football player is going to make the difference. So imagine that instead of football players we have ranking factors. Why a football team, why a brand should be on position number 1, another one 2, and on top of that, in the whole season the position in the rankings is not the same. They're not sticky in that position unless it is a year where the first football team is going to be on top every time. So I do think that the SEO is pretty much the same. So teeny tiny details, work systematically, and eventually you're going to get the results.
Yeah. I'd like to maybe finalize with the last few questions.
Yes.
We spoke before about this, and you brought up a very, very interesting point. I didn't think about that. But let's say kind of seasons change or web gradually evolves, new trends appear, people follow it, and it's like everything is constantly dynamically evolving. So let's say this way of presenting your own contents becomes a kind of norm or something standardized. Then there are these machine learning algorithms that try to spot the patterns. The interesting part here becomes that if we're looking at a kind of, let's say, dog shelter website, and we can clearly see a pattern that a dog shelter website should have a picture of a dog, this specific form over here, plus selection of different dog breeds, plus maybe a few adjustable elements for like duration of stay or different elements. That becomes a kind of, let's say, memorized or like a fossilized thing in terms of what's expected of a dog shelter site. Not necessarily it will be fixated like that forever, right? It can change with each like relearning of the patterns. But it's an interesting component where probably analyzing mass amounts of sites in the future within the same industry, maybe across different locations, it can actually signal you these different patterns of what's expected. It's kind of like you cannot miss that. You can build on top of these things, but you cannot skip what's already preset and is a part of the expectation. Again, going back to a whole basically chain of events. First, they are able to interpret the queries, understand or estimate the intents behind them. Then they're reading the user journey plus the pages that are providing these intents, and they're creating a match. Then throughout the behavior, they're realizing what serves that intention better. And finally, there is the repeated machine learning that picks the best examples, and that becomes a kind of baseline standard for all these things.
Yes.
Very, very interesting, because there's lots of tools that can be developed around this. There's lots of things like in terms of opportunities and just the overall web. But also I want to jump back to the patent initially for the custom generation of the results. How much do you think SEOs should be scared about losing traffic because the results are now fully generated, the custom SERPs are being generated, and presumably more is being taken away from the websites?
Yeah, so I would say that if you think about it, they pretended or they tried to kill SEO for a long time, and SEO is still running.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you, as a user, billions of users at the same time have to search for something, because it's impossible to know what's in billions of people's head. So, and what they want, because it could change from time to time. So every time they want something, they have to search exactly for what they want. It could be a restaurant, it could be a shop, it could be a specific product, a specific time, a specific location. So the number of permutation and combination is so huge, I don't think even AI can, let's say, solve that problem. But so on top of that, it's a dynamic problem. It's not a static problem, which means you're trying to chase something that is not going to stop ever. And the only solution is to adapt, keep learning, keep testing. I changed my mind recently over the years where I come from a technical background. I said technical SEO is the key. No, it's not key, because you need a little bit of links, a little bit of user experience, a little bit of copywriting, a little bit of marketing, a little of psychology. Is everything put together, and it's a, let's say, it's a different dish to cook. It's a very complex dish to cook, and you make it perfect, but 5 seconds later, it's gone. And you have to keep cooking and keep testing and so that's the fun part. It's a never-ending game. And you have to keep learning, keep reading, so that's it. And I do think that this is what brings us together. And by the way, we are in the Baltic Nordic Summit, and we're doing this podcast and here in the hotel, and we're gonna keep sharing ideas. And this is the best thing of these kind of events. And each one of you, I encourage you to come to this event and compare and contrast ideas with different people.
Yeah, definitely. I enjoy these conversations the most, really. I learned a ton of things from you. As a final note, this was one of my final questions. I didn't tell this to you before, but I've seen you notice patterns in the places where I completely miss them. And I've seen you do it in like technical things, in kind of like life situations, in social interactions, in different like things on the, again, like SERPs or sites or these kinds of things. I do think it's like one of your like greatest superpowers, because you just like see a clear pattern or kind of principle where it's almost like invisible. Everything seems, in some case for me, like there would be nothing there, I wouldn't pay attention. But then after having a few conversations with you, you bring like such clear clarity, like, look, there's this clearest patterns.
Nice.
So I want to ask you, how do you do it?
Oh, it's very simple. I'm very old for the SEO industry. He's way younger than me. And the point is, before online world, we have games in the offline world. And one of the games was, they give you 2 images and you had to find out the 7 differences. And I love that. And I love that game. So years of playing that game, it's very simple for me to see an image and spot the differences. And you train yourself. And he asked the question because last night we went into the lobby, and I said to him, they have changed the decoration. I mean, there is a piano here, and they changed the position of the piano.
That's a perfect example, by the way.
And the table, and the decoration, all this stuff. So when I get in the hotel in the morning and I get in the hotel in the afternoon, I saw the differences, but he didn't notice. So that's the key for me. I mean, I can see these changes.
Yeah, the same thing. Even let's say the previous places where we met in other countries, in other cities, we're returning there after like a year or 2 years, and you're like, oh, like this car moved, that changed, this is not here anymore. And then we meet, let's say, the same person or the same people, and you're like, oh, this changed, that changed. after 1 year this has happened. I mean, that's really insane that you're able to do it so precisely. I think it's really like a greatest talent, like a real gift that you have to be able to do these things so well. Because, you know, the video game described, I would think it's just like a visual thing, but you're spotting these things when it is like not visual, but it's just kind of like senses or logic. You just have like a understanding of this principle and this principle. There's nothing visual about it. It's just clear logic in your understanding of it. But then you compare them, it's like, wait, but this doesn't match to this one, or that's clearly missing now. That is
okay. So to give you an exercise, or go back to the same place you walk every day and try to look around. I'm pretty sure you're gonna find something that you have never seen before, even though you walk every single day from the same place, because your brain was not focused on that detail. You probably go there in a default mode and you don't pay attention to either something changed, or, you know, a tree was not there and a few weeks ago was there, and all this stuff. That's the same, and the same game is you go to the SERPs, you trigger the queries, and you see the differences if you pay attention to the details. And that's my game, basically. So if I can help anybody doing this kind of game, so keep playing, because the no SEO tool is going to give you that much advantage than watching at the SERPs and see what's have changed, basically.
Yeah, I mentioned this many times publicly, but I do think you're one of the best people in the SEO industry, from the things you do, how you operate, and definitely if you're trying to work with one of the best experts, or trying to just understand the SEO, how it like really works, is, as you realize, like we mentioned here, you mentioned it multiple times, 2 times now, that SEO is not just like one thing. You have to be an engineer, a designer, a developer, a consultant, a psychologist,
a product, everything.
Like there's just way too many things now. It's almost like funny how what SEO actually means. It is so many different like industries and cultures all at the same time. And I definitely recommend to chat more with Luis, because
thank you.
I always enjoy talking to him. And thank you so much for this conversation today.
It was an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.